So, as Melissa said, I'm Noam Peri. I'm an analyst at Google working with the social casino industry. And I'm very happy to be here today and talk to you about your users. And you probably have tons of data about your users, right? In your BIs. But I'm guessing not often you have the opportunity to just reach them and ask them directly, see what their perceptions are. So today I'm going to share with you an extensive research we've done with TNS, which is one of the global leading research company. And in this research, we reached 1,000 social casino gamers in the US and asked them various questions about their behavior. And today, especially for Casual Connect, we're going to present the results for the first time. So, just to get us started, I'll start with an example. We asked users, when do you make an in-app purchase? To unlock new content or during exciting moments? And let's see how you know how users think. What do you think more users told us? By show of hands. Unlock new content? Who think it's to unlock new content? Who thinks, okay, some. Who think it's during exciting moments? Most, okay. So you're right. More users say they make an in-app purchase during exciting moments. And that may be irrational, but that's the truth. And we'll get to it later on. But for now, let's start in the beginning. 15% of US internet users say they play social casino games. That's a lot. That's almost half of online gamers. And what do they play? Most of them play slots, and in our survey, it's almost equal in terms of gender. Then comes bingo, which is more of a women game. And then poker, which is more men. But you know, social casino is not the only games they're playing. In fact, almost 2/3 of social casino gamers said they also play other online games, especially casual games. And this slide means that Candy Crush or Trivia Crack, who just presented here yesterday, is your direct competitor as well as any other slot or casino app. And we can go on talk about your users as a whole, but the fact is, not all users are the same. And most importantly, not all users are the same to you. In our survey, and it's similar to other industry stats, 3.6% said they're paying regularly on social casino games. Additional 7% say they have paid once or twice before. And that blue piece of the pie actually generates all revenue. So it's crucial for us to understand it best. So in the next few minutes, we're gonna go through the user funnel, from the discovery part in which it gets to your store page, through the install in the App Store, and engagement and playing the game, and also retention. And in each stage, we're gonna talk about how those spenders behave differently and how you should treat them differently. Starting with discovery. So we saw search, app stores, and Facebook are the top 3 points of discovery for social casino games. Spenders, by the way, use all of them much more. And if we go deeper and ask, so we see Facebook, search, and also recommendation from others tend to decline with age, what makes them a little less important for the older audience, but app stores and ads remain constant. Let's go deeper into the App Store. How your users are finding you there. We ask them, how do you look for new games in the App Store? So most users say they browse the top 3 games charts. Then they use the search box, to search for the game name. And the third most common is to browse the casino category. But when we look what spenders do, spenders think differently, even in this upper funnel stage. Spenders tend to look much more at the top grossing charts. Why? Probably they're looking for quality games that others are willing to pay for. And okay, we got to your store page. Now all we have to do is push the install, open, and play the game, right? It's that simple. But actually we see that this phase can be kind of tricky. First of all, the store page. What are they looking at? What's important for them in the store page? So spenders and non-spenders alike said the most important thing is the rating score. Then come the reviews. For the third, there are already differences between spenders and non-spenders, as non-spenders prefer to look at the description, while spenders look more at the screenshots and videos. Well, do they push the install right now? 60% do install within the first hours after they hear about a game. But look at the stats, 19% can actually take more than a week. Now, if we look at spenders, spenders tend to be much faster, making the first few hours even more critical. But even among spenders, 21% can take days to come. Pushing the install, as you know, is not enough. They have to open the game. And 19% of slots payers and 43% of spenders say they have downloaded the game and never open it. That's a lot of traffic we're losing. I see a yes. Do you know why? Can anyone guess? Why is this happening? They don't like the logo? Any more guess? It takes too long. So we see the number one reason is time and attention. Answers like, I forgot about it. I played other games. I had no time. The second most common is, like you said, more technical issues. It crashed. I tried to open it, but it took too long, etc. This is a very important point, because while I'm sure you're monitoring well the technical issues, you also have to pay attention to the time and attention issue. You know, I once talked about this thing with a CMO from a different industry. And he told me, if a user has got to my page and he didn't convert, that's because he's not interested in my product. And as you can see, this is simply not true. Sometimes they just forget about it. Okay, you can imagine the situation. Someone installed and then maybe the bus arrived. Okay? Or her son called from college. Or another game push notification and she just forgot about you. You have to be there and remind them. Finally, we got to the game. Let's play. And social casino players play a lot. As you can see, 62% plays at least weekly. And spenders play even more, as 85% of them play at least weekly. That's great, right? Because you have a lot of time with them. But you have to take into consideration this time is also divided between more games. Because if we look at the average number of games, of social casino games, that a player plays, you can see that a spender plays almost twice the number of games than non-spenders. That means you have twice the competition for your most important users. So it's really important that you identify who is your most overlapping competitors. And your most overlapping competitors doesn't necessarily have to be the largest one. Okay, this is unique to each and every app. I'll give you an example from our survey. We saw, for example, that Jackpot Party users tend to overlap with GSN Casino or Double Down, while Slotomania users tend to overlap with House of Vegas. With House of Vegas. So you have to find your most overlapping competitor and then understand his retention strategy. In what hour a day does he send the daily coins? Or what are the offerings? Okay, so you can understand the relevant one for you. Your users are also engaged outside the game itself. 1 in 4 users say they rate the app in the App Store, they comment about it, or they report bugs. Now another question for you. Who do you think write more negative comments? Spenders or non-spenders? Okay. Spenders write 10 times more negative comments. They also write more positive comments, okay? But only twice more. But negative comments, they write 10 times more. So, of course, you have to make all your users happy. But you can't afford to leave your spenders unhappy. We talked earlier, we saw that almost 4% say they pay regularly. And we ask them, when do you make an in-app purchase? So the most common reason to make an in-app purchase is the coins running out, and this is the most obvious one, right? But then we talked about 26% of users say they're spending during exciting moments. And as we said in the beginning, this may sound irrational or even contradiction, but this is what they say. And the third reason is also interesting. 25% say they spend to compete with others. What do they mean when they say to compete with others? So we asked slots players, how do they interact with others in the game? And 21% say they send or receive gifts. 15% say they check other people's coins or levels. And as you can see, this is very minor interaction, but it can have a significant impact on spend. Do you think they monitor their spending? 32% of slots players say they have budgets for in-app spend. What kind of a budget? It depends if you're a man or a woman. We saw women tend to limit each purchase. For example, don't buy something above $4.99, while men tend more to have a daily, a weekly, or a monthly budget. And that means that you can identify those patterns of budgeting or monitoring and adjust your offerings accordingly. Take into consideration, though, that most users say they overspend, at least some of the times. Let's talk for a second about retention. In our survey, 27% of slots players said they have stopped playing at least one game in the last 2 months. What makes them quit? Again, number one reason is about time and attention. They forgot. They played other games. As you saw before, they're playing a lot of games. And as we saw before, spenders play even more games, and they're more sensitive to this reason. Another 2 important reasons that I want you to pay attention are the technical issue we already discussed and finishing the last level. The good news is that 9% also say they come back to play a game they quitted. And what makes them come back? The top 3 external reasons are seeing an ad, new updates to the game, and special promotions. Let's summarize the whole funnel, but from the end to the beginning, just the most important things. For retention, you have to keep changing, because if they'll finish their last level, they will go away. Updates, bring them back. For engagement, first, personalize. Users spend for very different reasons, and also in different patterns. Second, prioritize. Unhappy spenders shout louder. Don't leave them unanswered. For install, you have to act fast, as the first few hours are critical. But on the other hand, measure patiently. We have 20% of spenders install that will take days to come. Another thing is that you have to be present. We saw 43% of spenders have downloaded the game, maybe your game, and never opened it, mostly because they just forgot about it. You have to be there and remind them. And for the discovery part, so just to say, we at Google have some great solutions, including ads in play, targeting for spenders, and universal app campaigns you might have heard of. And we're operating with the social casino developers in a closed beta for the last 10 months. We're seeing great results. And right now, the beta is still closed, and I have no information where is it going to be open, but of course, that once it will, you're all gonna know about it. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
I'm Amanda Pfeiffer from Flyclops in the U.S. Was all the data user-reported data, or was it actually from?
Everything is user-reported data, just perception and how they think about. Obviously, there's a difference between perceptions and actions, but I do think that you probably have, like I said in the beginning, a lot of action data, and I think it's very beneficial to know the perception behind it sometimes.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I have one question. Did you also split the numbers from retention, install, and what's the third one, by the different discovery channels? And did you see any differences in the acquisition channels or the user quality based on the?
Okay, so our set of data was not set for it because we couldn't exclude like having multiple channels of, and it was not really like channels of acquisition because this was a multi-punch. You can say you're looking for new games both in Google, in the App Store, in Facebook, and everything together. So we could not really split it.
Any other questions? I have a question. That 43% is kind of scary, and
yeah.
And you know, so to download an app and then forget about it, what would you suggest to make sure that you don't get forgotten?
So, as I said, like there's no like simple solution because they're not your users already in this phase, right? But maybe you can increase the reach and try to reach those users again, at least in the first few hours after they saw your ad or got an impression or clicked or something like this, to just remind.
Interesting. Do we have any other questions? It's time to ask Google a question. I guess when you did all your surveys, back to her question, have you thought about looking at player behavior and seeing how it kind of syncs up to what people are admitting that they're doing?
Yeah, so on purpose, we didn't use any player's behavior on this survey. This is just user survey and people saying what they're doing.
Okay. And did you look into how players respond to sort of the spamming or asking people to pay too quickly, too soon?
No, so we haven't looked at this phase, but I think there's other, I saw there's other lecture today, which I think I'm going to hear about this.
Okay, well.
Thank you.
No other questions? Okay, well, thank you very much. Really, really insightful.